Hello, and hope everyone's had enough time to work on their summative task that you were supposed to have submitted in the assignments tab on D2L. Hope everyone's navigating through distant learning well. I'm sure that everybody's looks completely different. One teacher's is going to be one way and another teacher's is going to be another way. I think it's really important for you to take time to relax and to go through things step by step. Always make sure that you're contacting your teachers to let them know that you're not able to manage due dates that were set. Sometimes teachers get so excited and then make everything due at the beginning. Also make sure that you're submitting your assignments, and if you needed a couple extra days, please email me and let me know. So we're going to continue off with looking at how the Depression started, because I think it's really important to understand that segue into World War II and why is it that World War II started. And I think it's really parallel to what's happening in the world today. If we look at the global pandemic that we're going through right now, and hopefully everybody and their families are safe, it's going to cause some real turmoil in our economy. And it would probably have a similar effect to what the stock market crash had on the 1930s. So we're going to learn a little bit about that today, and then I'll be giving you the opportunity to have a discussion with me about what you think the future is going to look like and what's going to happen within our own economy. And then we'll move into looking at World War II. So I'll go ahead and give a start to this. The stock market crash. So as we do know, the 1920s was a time that brought about a lot of new inventions. We know that these are a couple of flappers over here really enjoying their time. And we watched the movie The Great Gatsby, so we know what 1920s society and culture was like. So in terms of businesses and the economic boom, we saw that in the 1920s, that we see our first shopping mall built. We see fast food chains coming up. Stores like A&W, Root Beer were created. Companies were spending $1.5 billion on advertising alone by 1927. Ford had built the Model T, which we looked at in class under 1920s inventions. And the invention of credit came about as well. So with the stock market crash with everyone having a little bit of extra money, we wanted to make sure that we invested it and we wanted to make it grow. If you do remember the man who was living beside Leonardo DiCaprio, who played Great Gatsby, so it was the Spider-Man guy, sorry, I don't remember his name, but with that extra income, what they would do is they would invest in the stock market. So everyone was investing in the stock market and everybody wanted to become a stockbroker. And things were really good. You'd put your money in and you'd get a 10% return, meaning that if you put in $100, you would get $1,000 out of it. Who wouldn't want that kind of money? You put in a little, you get a lot back. So what is a stock market and what is a stock? Well, essentially, what a stock is that you're investing a little bit of money into a company. So let's say that you wanted to invest in Apple shares. So you would buy apples. Each share would be like you own like a little tiny 0.2%, 0.001% of Apple. And as Apple continues to grow and make more money, you make more money on your stock as well. And then company takes your money in terms of shares and they use it to invest in their own company in research and development to make new products. So for example, all those people that invest their money into Apple takes that money, puts it into their research and development, and we have iPad Pros and we have iPhone 11s because they have the money to fund that research. So as the company improves, the value of the company continues to go up and the stock price goes up, meaning that you're making money. What would happen in the 1920s is that you would go and see a stockbroker, and a stockbroker would say to you, hey, you need to invest in gas companies, and you need to invest in Dominion Foods, and you need to invest in Ford, you need to invest in telephone companies because that just came out and it's like the biggest thing ever. And they would kind of give you advice. They would analyze the market. They would see what businesses are growing. You really have to be aware as a stockbroker about the economy and what's happening in society. So they would kind of convince you, and they'd be like, no, you know what? I don't have any money. The stockbroker would say to you, don't worry about it. Borrow money from me. So you borrow $500 from me, and I'm out of your 500, I'm going to make you 5,000. So you've just got to pay me back $1,000. But think about it. You're still making a hell of a lot of money. So you know what? Why don't you go ahead and do that? So everybody would buy into it. It was a great time. No one would ever predict that anything would happen. Everyone was happy, and they were living this beautiful golden lifestyle. And what better way to invest in it and make it even more beautiful and more golden? But this ended up being problematic because people were buying shares that they couldn't afford. So buying on a margin meant that you would take out loans. You would take out a loan, and then you would buy shares, and you would invest in companies, and you'd be invested in the stock market. So we're at an all-time high in the 1920s, and in Canada, paper and wheat were being produced at an all-time high, and people were wanting to invest in those. Well, guess what? All of those European farms that were damaged through World War I have now had about 10 years to rebuild themselves. So all of this extra wheat and all of this extra paper and wood that we were producing in Canada and exporting out to these European countries, they didn't need our supply anymore. And with way too much supply and not enough demand, it drives our price down. That means then that we were losing money. So if you had invested in stocks that were related to wheat and that were related to paper and pulp and that were related to wood, when you woke up on Tuesday morning, you had $15,000. And then you woke up on Friday morning, you had about $5,000. And that's kind of the way that it worked. So the stock market, stockbrokers and investment bankers saw this happening before the public did. So what they did was they cashed in all their shares, and they knew that if production decreases, the stocks will also decrease as well. So they started to cash it in and make it big. So eventually everybody wanted their money out of the bank. So this is actually a picture of a Toronto bank, and these are all the stockbrokers coming in to get their money from the bank tellers, if you can see over here. And this is what a bank would look like. So we didn't have internet, and we didn't have online banking in the 1930s. So we kind of had to go directly to the bank and say, hey, give us our money back. And whoever they could pay out, they could pay out. But it came to a point where you would go to the bank and say, I want to cash in my stocks. And they would say they literally have no physical money left to give you. That meant that your account, which you thought had $8,000 in it, now has absolutely nothing. And everyone was in the same boat, and there was nothing that you could do about it. The final fall actually happens on October 29th, 1929, and the entire stock market crashes. So this is a graph that helps you to understand the stocks. This is the GDP, or the Dow Jones. And what this is it's helping us to show the current worth of our economy. And we can look at graphs like this even for today. You'll see these dramatic changes happening within our own economy today. As you can see, in 1927, we see that we're still enjoying the roaring 20s, and our stocks are at an all-time high. And the investment brokers, they saw this happening. They saw that Europe was trying to improve itself. They saw that, there was less demand and more supply, and they cashed out. Well, think about how much money they made if they did it just at the right time. Then the stock market crashes. Boom. 1929, we see that happen over here. We have a short recovery a little bit. We thought we were okay. And then things just started to continue to crash. And this is where we enter into the Great Depression. And we can actually compare, and if you were to do a comparative analysis of stock trends today, you'd probably see something very similar. What they're trying to do over here is show you the difference between in 2008, we actually had a very similar economy crash or market crash that was very similar to what had happened in 1929. So the red line indicates our stock market crash, and the graphic of our stocks dropping in price in the red, and in the green is what happened in 2008. So it would be really interesting for you to research to see what if we were to add 2020 to this crash as well with our global pandemic. And here we have, so people who owned Rolls Royces, and they owned very expensive cars, and they were very frivolous with their money, were now lining up on the pogey in order to get some breakfast. Now, if you look to see, what do you see in this picture? Who's missing? I wish you guys were in front of me right now so I could get answers from you. But generally speaking, who's missing from this picture is all the women and children. All the people who are not all, this is all white men. So where are the black men that had come back and served our country in war from the No. 2 Construction Battalion? Where are the Sikh Canadian soldiers, the one or two that might have made it back? All the other people. So generally speaking, it was white males, and it traveled through word of mouth that these different organizations, such as the Yonge Street Mission, were organizing free breakfast for men. So as a white male, you would go in there and you would try to put as much food as you could on your plate so you could take some home to you for your women, for your wife and your children. So here we are looking at some causes of the Great Depression. I've highlighted some of them, and as we've done in the past, you know that the underlying stuff is the most important stuff that you have to learn about. Overproduction. So overproduction was what the cause was, that too many goods are being produced and it drives the price down. So we had an overabundance of wheat, overabundance of paper, overabundance of wood, and what that did is that nobody was buying it. We had to drive the price down because there was no demand and nobody's making money anymore. And because in the American stock market crashes, guess what? Canada's does as well. Because we're their neighboring country, we're so intertwined and dependent on them for our purchases and the exchanges and imports and exports that if their economy crashes, ours isn't too far behind. And also looking at, we were using too much credit to buy stock. So by the time the stock market crashed, we were still in debt by the original $500 we had borrowed to make the $5,000 that we were promised by our stockbroker. And if you can see over here, this is a woman sitting on the side of the road and some other items that she has here. It's attached to her fancy Model T Ford, which she probably can't afford to buy gas for. And she's playing with her baby on the side of the road. So what were the short-term effects of the Great Depression? So here's this guy, he's standing by his Rolls Royce. It says $100 will buy this car, must have cash, lost all on the stock market. And here's another picture of a father with his children just recently being kicked out of his house. Here we have some men waiting on the pogie. So pogies would be set up by different organizations that could afford it. Maybe a restaurant who didn't sell all of their food that day, or churches that put their little bit of money together. And communities really pooled together to help one another out if they weren't able to purchase food or get help to take care of children when there was an odd job available. And you would, as a man, you would jump, you would ride the rail. So you would try to find a job anywhere you could. You wouldn't just kind of sit in the middle of Toronto going, crap, I can't find a job. You would try to actively go out and look for one. Well, you needed to get across town. You needed to maybe get into another province. And sneaking on to trains was a very common practice back then, and that was called riding the rails. So you would jump on wherever you could and then jump off wherever you could. So the Great Depression in Canada. So here we are at the stock market crash. We've lost everything we own, but everybody's lost everything. And we have no finances, which is really bad in comparison even to what we're going through now. All we're being do is asked to stay home. You know, we haven't lost our jobs. Most of us haven't lost our jobs. Some of us are still, living okay. We're just being asked to stay at home. And on top of having the Depression, we also had the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl, what happened with the Dust Bowl was that all of our crops became dried up in our prairie provinces, and we weren't able to grow anything. So not only had we lost our jobs, not only had we lost all of our money, but we also lost the ability to grow crops as well. And I'm going to ask you to look at this picture. This is a picture of a widow with her children living in a tent. And if we remember from earlier slides, I told you that it was pretty much white males that would be going on to the pogie. Here's a widow. Her husband died. Her husband died during the war. So what is she doing for money? How is she supporting her children when it's only men that are allowed to go out and get those extra donations? We had a lot of immigrants that came into the country after World War I, and also just before it as well from Eastern Europe. In fact, we had gone out and we had advertised to people in European countries to say, hey, get out of that polluted, crowded country. Come over to Canada. We're going to give you a free acre of land. Come cultivate the land. World War I starts, the Great Depression starts. Canada looks at them and says, sorry guys, can't help you out. You're going to have to go back to your country. So they ended up sending many new immigrants back to their home country because they didn't